It was the fight that shook the nation, when two foes lined up and forever changed history as we know it, and the world was never the same again. And of course, I am talking about Freddy vs. Jason. Welcome back, I'm Justice, and we are now at the second to last entry in the Nightmare franchise with 2003's Freddy vs. Jason, which follows Freddy Krueger, who's trapped in hell and his power has now waned. He resurrects Jason Voorhees to terrorize Springwood in order for people to remember him. But when Jason's killing spree becomes uncontrollable, the two killers have an epic showdown. The film was something that had been in the works well before it finally hit the big screen in 2003. Even 10 years before this film finally released, fans were teased with this crossover at the end of Jason Goes to Hell when Freddy's arm comes shooting out of the earth and pulls Jason's mask down with him. But even before that teaser, there had been plans to make this movie since the late 80s, but it had landed itself into development hell. The project went through numerous scripts before landing on this one too, in fact, and thank God, because what I have seen of those other scripts, they went places that neither of these franchises should have ever gone to. I'm mostly thinking of the one where Freddy assaults Jason's mother for reasons, I guess. This juggernaut of horror history, though, was never going to be a true critical darling when it hit the screens. Freddy vs. Jason wasn't going to be something that transcended or even changed the genre, and it wasn't going to be winning any damn Oscars. But I'd be lying if I didn't say that it was a bloody good time and emphasis on the bloody. For the most part, I think they did a great job colliding these two massive franchises together and giving both Freddy and Jason fans what they would want from both characters in a film like this. And this is the last film we have Robert donning the Freddy makeup in, and I'm glad to see his career in the franchise went out with a bang. Something I couldn't help but notice is they seem to hone in on the perfect balance of what makes Freddy great in a nightmare film. And as most fans agree, Freddy was at his best when he can have his wit and still be scary like in Dream Warriors. And I think this go around with Mr. Krueger, that he's back on that level rather than just being the comedian he was in the last few entries of the Nightmare franchise. He's actually a force to be reckoned with while still having his more like funny and campy moments. As for Jason though, as many Friday fans know, Kane Hodder had essentially become Jason in the latter entries between New Blood to Jason X, and unfortunately, he was not hired on to come back, which is a shame, and I do believe he deserved to have his place in this film against Robert Englund. But what I will say though is Ken Kersinger does a great job with our silent killer. In this entry, you're supposed to feel more emotion from Jason, like you can see the scared child behind the 6'5" towering behemoth, and I thought that he did a great job bringing that to the role while still being intimidating and brutal as ever. Also, I can't talk about these characters without mentioning our cast of teens in this entry, which are extremely likable and
fucking 14, so get over it.
Well-rounded and just super well written with
Assuming, of course, you can think.
God, yeah.
Makeup weighing down your
Okay.
What kind of faggot?
Okay, maybe they're not that good, actually. I will say that Monica Keena is fantastic in this film, and I really enjoyed her as Laurie. She's nothing groundbreaking as far as final girls go in either of these franchises, but in a film like this, it was bound to be that way. I mean, this film isn't Freddy versus Jason versus Laurie after all, and I think a big part that has retroactively made me enjoy her character so much more is seeing her in interviews in both the Crystal Lake Memories and Never Sleep Again documentaries, which again, I have recommended Never Sleep Again so many times, but this is my moment to recommend the Crystal Lake Memories. If you enjoy either of these franchises, check those docs out. They are not something that you want to miss. But she has this whole idea of how Jason is this poor, misunderstood killer, which I thought was admittedly funny, and I tend to agree with.
I got to see him as a little boy that was picked on. If I had been there, I would have killed all those horrible camp counselors and stuff.
She also apparently grew up ultra scared of Freddy Krueger and brought those feelings into the film. Another thing worth mentioning too is Ronnie Yu was brought on to direct this film, and he had directed Bride of Chucky, which is extremely stylized, much like this film, and he brought that energy into the movie and was not afraid to use plenty of color throughout the film either. The film cuts from scene to scene and you're never really left bored throughout. Plus there are numerous scenes that have really cool and memorable shots. Like, of course, the Cornfield Party Massacre is one that comes to mind for me. You have this part where Jason is on fire walking through the cornfield, and it is an absolutely epic shot and one of my favorite shots of Jason throughout the Friday franchise, in fact. I also really enjoyed how the nightmare sequences looked in this movie. Specifically, Jason's nightmare is hands down my favorite of them all. We see Jason reduced back to the scared child he was when he had drowned, and Freddy taunting him. And again, this is a scene where you're reminded just how much of a poor baby boy Jason is, and of course how twisted Freddy is. And I mean, Freddy was a total POS before death, and Jason was just a bullied child, so like, yeah, it tracks. As for negatives with this movie, I know I just praised Ronnie's direction, but one thing I couldn't stand that he did were the slowed down frame rates placed on some scenes. It's extremely dated and so 2000s, but not in a like, ooh, nostalgia kind of way, just a like, cringe, this is dated kind of way. And I'd have preferred if it just looked normal. Even with the Cornfield Massacre that I was just talking about, you have all these really epic shots like I mentioned, but then you'll have these slowed down frame rate shots of Jason attacking people and his machete just like stopping in midair, and like, I don't know, I just don't really like it. I would have preferred if it just looked normal. And I know I just made a passing joke about it, but if the character isn't really Freddy, Jason, or Laurie, they have some of the most atrocious dialogue and all just come across like they hate each other. A huge example of that would be Kelly Rowland's character, who has this like romance, not even A or B plot, it's like a C plot with the nerd of the film. But I find it so unbelievable because they both are just such dickbags to each other. You have her just bullying him throughout the movie, and then him like dropping all these one-liners to stand up for himself, but like they're not serving anything when he's dropping them. It's just not a good character arc at all. That could have just been cut. But I will admit, Kelly's line when she's calling out Freddy is so god awfully bad that it immediately becomes iconic, and she gets a pass since Hilary Duff didn't put a stop to homophobia for another 5 years.
What kind of faggot runs around in a Christmas sweater?
When you say that's so gay, do you realize what you say? Knock it off.
They also oftentimes just use these characters as mouthpieces for some of the biggest exposition dumps, especially with the whole let's kill Jason with water and Freddy with fire because, ooh, that's what they're scared of and what will kill them. And definitely not anything we've seen them not scared of in the previous, I don't know, almost 20 films between the both franchises. But the most egregious thing for me is this character who is a clear Jay and Silent Bob ripoff. He's the resident stoner of the film, and he only has a couple scenes, which thank God, because his appearances very much took me out. I also really did not like his dream sequence where you have this weird CGI worm that smokes weed with him and then forces him to essentially vor it, which, saying it out loud, there is definitely someone on the internet who's interested in that, and it's not sharing time, so don't leave a comment down below if you're interested in that. After he essentially bores this worm, though, Freddy possesses him, and the whole Freddy possession part didn't really bother me, especially since it led to a really cool kill done by Jason. I just hated all the build up to it. Other than these things, though, I can say the film does what it intends to do, and these flaws can be overlooked because we're marketed an epic smackdown between both Freddy and Jason, and that's what we get, even multiple, in fact. That's a thing that's really great about this movie, even from the opening sequence. It's this perfect dance between the two characters. We literally start with like the New Line Cinema logo, and it's this remix version of both the franchise's themes like mashed together. And I thought it was kind of iconic. It's like, DJ, hit that track. But then the opening sequence opens to this like perfect opening scene that would work perfect for like the Nightmare or Friday franchise. We open with Freddy in the boiler room and he's looking back at all of his victims. We have this montage of all the different ways Freddy has died and all the people he has attacked in earlier entries before the parents of Elm Street come to burn down the house. I absolutely loved Robert Englund's monologue. But then we jump to Friday the 13th land and we have this girl that is about to go skinny dipping in Crystal Lake, waiting for her boyfriend, and Jason shows up as he does. I just thought these were a perfect ways to like bring both these franchises together, and then of course eventually meld the two together in that scene when Freddy manipulates Jason into doing his bidding by the end. As for the kills, there are quite a few. The body count in this is fairly high. Most of it goes to Jason, though. Freddy really only has a couple kills in it, and I would only say one of them amounts to being an actual kill. But hey, at least it's a good one. He kills this guy, Mark. He's one of the characters that just escaped the psychiatric ward in Springwood, and Freddy tracks him down and essentially uses his dead brother to like get to him. His brother like pops up out of the bathtub and starts taunting him with Freddy's voice as his brother's blood like starts to pool on the floor and all these little tendrils start cutting into his feet. And Freddy tries to force Mark to send a message back to the real world, and Mark refuses. So essentially, he pulls a Joey on Mark and forces the message to be written onto him and sets Mark on fire as Lori and her love interest watch and they see the burned symbol of Freddy's back on his back. As for Jason, I would say probably my favorite kill and definitely not a hot take. He has a few good runs, but this one takes the cake. You have Trey. He's this absolute douchey boyfriend. You open up the beginning of the movie with him just saying all these like really shitty lines to his girlfriend non-stop.
Whoa, babe. Tell you about kissing me after you smoked, huh?
And hands down, Trey is the kind of guy that would have bullied me in high school, but I very much would have been attracted to him. But after him and his girlfriend have sex, he is in bed and Jason comes in and he starts slicing him with the machete. We're seeing it go straight through the mattress on the bottom before Jason takes the bed and folds it up with him inside of it. It's an extremely cool scene, and I wish I could show more of it on screen, but YouTube is not friendly towards gore. Aside from all these kills, though, like I mentioned a minute ago, we get multiple scenes where Freddy and Jason get to duke it out, and it's like this perfect build-up towards it. We have the whole cornfield massacre where Jason's going through and slaughtering all the teens, but as this is all going on, we have Freddy attacking one of the teens in the dream world before Jason kills her before Freddy can. And we also get the really fun scene that I mentioned earlier where they knock Jason out so that we can see him trapped in the dream world as well. This leads to Lori also entering into Jason's dream, and we get to see this whole recreated flashback in the nightmare world of the day that Jason had been drowned by those kids and the lifeguards weren't paying attention. I really enjoyed all of that, and I thought it made Jason's character that much more likable in this film, and like very much leaned into him being the child that you're supposed to see him as in this movie. But of course, you can't talk about this film without talking about the epic showdown at the end, and I think the way they handled this was so masterfully done. It very much also reminds you of like how much they don't focus on any of these really crappy side characters because they dispatch of the last of them really quick, except for Lori and her love interest. And then they even just kind of take a step back and like just watch the fireworks blow out. Because this fight isn't meant for the final girls of the franchise to jump in on, essentially. This fight was meant for Freddy and Jason all along, and that's what we came to see, and boy, is it a bloody one. We literally see, like, Freddy hacking into Jason, throwing pipes at him and all this shit, and then we even get this part where they're out on the Crystal Lake dock and, like, Freddy's slashing him and Jason's stabbing his machete into him. Even at another point, we have where Freddy's arm gets chopped off by Jason, and then Freddy gets the machete, tries to go after Lori, but then Jason uses Freddy's own arm and stabs it into Jason's back. It's extremely epic. And as for the winner of this movie, and extreme hot take, but I stand by it. The true winner of this film, I would say, is probably Lori. I don't care that Jason comes walking out of the water at the end and that he has Freddy's head and Freddy winks. Lori literally picks up the machete, chops Freddy's head off, and then throws said machete back into Crystal Lake. So I think we have a winner for this battle. Hot take, I know. All in all, though, Freddy vs. Jason is just essentially the perfect popcorn flick. It isn't trying to be anything else other than dumb fun. Even in a thing that was mentioned in the documentary, Quentin Tarantino went and saw this movie mainly because of the stupid line in the trailer,
Freddy versus Jason. Place your bets.
which they ended up cutting, man. But like, why? It like the movie's already pretty stupid, so why? But that dumb fun does make for a really entertaining time, and it's not the best movie in either the Nightmare or Friday franchise by any stretch of the words, but it definitely takes the better part of those franchises and melds it into this movie. And like I said, even with the biggest negative being the lame side characters in this film, you don't even really mind them so much like you would in a Friday or Nightmare film because you're hardly even focused in on them. They're more or less just set dressing for what Freddy and Jason are going to get up to in this film. But anyways, that is going to wrap up my thoughts on Freddy vs. Jason. You guys should let me know what you thought of this movie. You should drop a comment down below. You should let me know if you liked it, hate it. I'd love to hear what your takes were on it. And also, if you are new to the channel and you want more content in the future just like this, then I would love if you click that subscribe button. I cover everything and anything horror on this channel. I still have one more film to cover in the Nightmare franchise, so yes, I will be talking about the 2010 remake really, really soon. Yay me. But with that all out of the way, this has been Justice, and I really hope to catch you guys on the next one. Take care.